Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect, the men, women, and children hoping to be delivered in the day of the Lord. Shalom to you. Now, today, we're going to talk about the appearance of Yahweh Shai and generally what he looks like. When you're dealing with Christianity, who claim to be dealing with the Bible, you're going to receive a lot of confusion when it comes to the appearance of the Messiah, the Son of God, the one that they call Jesus Christ, which is not his actual name. It's a name that they've put in place. They've replaced the name Yahweh Shai with Jesus, and with that they've created a false image of this Messiah. So when you go to Christianity and you ask them about the appearance, they will give you multiple answers. But when you come to the truth, the reason why we call it the truth is because there is only one truth. So, for example, if you were to ask a Hebrew Israelite that is teaching the truth, if you were to ask him, what does the Lord look like, Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, the Son of God, you will only get one answer, whoever you come across, provided that Hebrew Israelite is teaching truth. Now, when you come to this truth, you've probably noticed a lot of images regarding Yahweh Shai, looking like this particular image that we can see here on the left, as opposed to the false image which we can see on the right hand side. This is similar to the image that the powers that be have portrayed to the world throughout the last 500 years or so, and that change can be described in Revelation chapter 20, which goes hand in hand with this particular lesson, but it's something I'm not going to get into today. I'm just going to concentrate on the appearance of Yahweh Shai and what he actually looks like. Because, like I say, when you go to Christianity, you get 1,000 different answers. I mean, the reason why I'm doing this video, really, I came across a video and it said, what does he look like, pretty much. And the video went into, giving particular reasons as to what the producers of the video believe, and it was just a load of rubbish, really, because it's just somebody giving their opinion of what they think this person is, rather than actually go into the Bible itself and looking for a description, which is what you would, in a normal circumstance, that's what you'd want to do. So, and then going through the comments, you've got about 2,000 odd comments on the comment board, and you've got 2,000 odd people giving their opinion, and you've got some people that will state, that the Messiah is the so-called black man. Some of them state that he's so-called white man, and you get ones that are clever, that think they're clever. You get these people in between who think, they make a statement that they believe he's Mediterranean. They're trying to dip their toes in both ponds, so to speak, at the same time. And it's just a bunch of people, just basically giving their opinion, just speaking out without actually having any information. And like I said, not going to the book to actually look at the information themselves to find out. It's a very simple thing to find out. And these precepts I'm going to bring out today are quite simple, quite basic. When you come to this truth, you will learn these quite quickly. But nonetheless, Revelation chapter 1 gives you quite a clear description of Yahweh Shai. I'm going to move along quite quickly because we've got a lot of precepts to get through. So we get straight into it from here, Revelation 1 and 13. This is the Apostle John, the Revelator, explaining, the vision that he's been given, and he's going into it, and he's describing, the look of Yahweh Shai. And it says here, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, with a girt about the paps, and a golden girdle. Okay, so the girt about the paps, pretty much is saying a strapping around the chest, and the golden girdle is going into a golden belt around the waist. Okay, so the strapping around the chest is probably going to be similar to Aaron's breastplate. And this is something that is worn by a high priest. And as you can see here, they've managed to make a unique modern replica of this breastplate. And each stone on this breastplate represents a particular tribe, the 12 tribes of Israel. And like it says here, a golden girdle, which is a golden belt. So that's the description of what he's going to be looking like in terms of garments. But moving on here, Revelation 1:14, it says, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Okay, so this is where we start getting into the description of his hair and his skin and so on and so forth. Okay, and it says there, and his head and his hairs were white like wool. Okay, so when you look at wool, which comes from sheep, and you look at the texture, you look at this particular part of the texture of the wool here, and the way that it's curly, this will take you back to so-called Negroes, the children of Israel. As it is today, you've got the 12 tribes of Israel, you've got the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, for example, who still pretty much retain this particular look. But a lot of the other tribes have been, mixed in with various other nations, for example. So a lot of the nation of Israel now have a different look. Their father may come from this particular bloodline of the Israelites, but where he's taken wives of other nations, his children have now looking like people of the other nations. But initially, this is the initial look of a Hebrew Israelite. And so, for example, like I say, when you go to America, for example, and you look at the tribe of Judah, you will get, predominantly you'll have this particular look. And as you notice, this particular man's hair is of the same texture as the sheep. So when it says here, his head and his hairs were white like wool, we then have to assume that this particular hair is, what they call Afro hair in modern day terms, as opposed to, stringy, long stringy hair, which is something of a Edomite trait, which is something that they've given to these false images throughout the time, known by the term iconoclasm. And when that was taking place, and they created a lot of false images regarding the Son of the Most High, they used Edomites, an Edomite look, if you like. And with that, you can quite clearly see that this hair does not represent woolly hair, whereas this does. Okay, so his head and his hairs were white like wool and white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. So before we get onto the eyes, if we go to Daniel chapter 7, we can read about a vision that Daniel had. And this is regarding a vision of him seeing the Most High. And we can read about this here in this particular precept 7 and 9. It says, and I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. And the Ancient of Days being the Most High, that is another term for him that you can use with reference to him. And it says here, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. Okay, so we're going to pay close attention here to his head, the hair of his head, like the pure wool, which again goes back to what we call so-called Afro hair. So this is a big clue as to what, Yahweh and his son Yahushai. This is a big clue as to what type of hair they have, and which ultimately leads you into understanding what they look like. Okay, so now we're moving on to the eyes as flame of fire. Again, a lot of times you might see this particular representation of Yahushai, and as it spoke there, eyes as of flame of fire. Now this is going into spiritual power that Yahushai is coming back with in great glory and with spiritual power. So the fact that his eyes are going to be glowing red represent a spiritual power. Now when we read Isaiah 47, chapter 47, at the top it says here, "Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstones and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man." Okay, so this is going into Yahushai's return. And when Yahushai came as Yahushai initially, although he did possess spiritual power, he did not use it to defend himself against the Edomites in particular. So on return of Yahushai coming back, this time he will not meet these other nations, especially Babylon the Great. He will not meet thee as a man. He will meet thee as a spiritual force, a spiritual power. And, if you like, a Superman, able to control the elements. So this is what's represented by the fact that he will have eyes as flame of fire. And yes, he will be able to shoot fire from his eyes. Now, thinking of that particular point there, that leads me into a dream that I had regarding, a dream my wife had regarding, eyes as flame of fire. It says here, "And it shall come to pass," this is Acts chapter 2 and 17, it says here, "And it shall come to pass in the last days, saith Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaidens I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy." Okay, so this is something that's happening in this current time that we're living in now, which is why a lot of people are waking up to this truth. You've got Ezekiel chapter 37 taking place, this great awakening, and with that this elect will wake up and come back to this truth, and Lord willing, they'll be delivered in the day of judgment. So I've explained before, I regarding this dream that my wife had regarding the eyes as flame of fire. And when I first came to this truth, I've explained before that it was not through speaking to somebody and finding out what this Bible really means. I came to this truth through a vision given to me by Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, and with that, I was shown a lot of information regarding, relating to this Bible, and with that, I understood, that I was an Israelite. Even though, to look at me, you might think that I'm of another nation. You might think that I'm of an East Indian origin, because obviously my father has taken wives of that particular nation. So I grew up believing I was of a different nation, but with this particular spiritual encounter I had, this particular vision, it showed me that no, look, you're an Israelite, and this is what the Bible's about, pretty much. So I've explained that before, and I've got another video regarding that, and I'll probably bring that up again soon. But at that particular point there, this is roughly 4 years ago we're talking, at that particular point there, I had never read the Bible, and I did not understand anything about this truth. Yet I had this particular encounter, and as we can see here, Daniel chapter 7 and 28, it left me feeling the same way Daniel felt after receiving visions himself. It says hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. So this is exactly the way I felt when this particular vision took place. And with that, I was considering the matter, and then I was in a place where I was actually trying to work out what a lot of this stuff meant. And like I say, I didn't know about the Hebrew Israelites, and I didn't have a Bible to read, and I didn't have anybody to break down what the scriptures meant. But I'd had this particular vision, and I knew I had to go to the Bible, and I knew I was a Hebrew Israelite. So with that, straight away, the first thing I did instantly, so I went onto Google, I went onto YouTube, and I typed in Bible breakdown, or just Bible, anything to do with the Bible. And being somebody who'd never read the Bible, I pretty much knew 4 things about the Bible. I knew there was a book called Genesis, I knew there was a book called Revelation, I knew there was a guy called Adam, and I knew there was a lady called Eve. And that's about it. And that's pretty much all people know. If you don't know anything about this truth, there's a lot of people out there that are not of the Christian faith, and they know nothing about the Bible at all, not even on a basic level. So I was in that particular situation. I've just received this vision, I've just been given all this information, I'm now trying to work it out. I've now been told that my nationality is not what I thought it was, it's something else, and I'm now taking this information as truth because of the way it was delivered to me. So what I did at that particular moment, I went onto YouTube and I tapped in the word Revelation, because that's all I could think of. I thought, let's type in the word Revelation, and this chapter came up, chapter 7. So the first thing happened, that this guy started to read through the chapter, and it was just an audio book. And with that, I heard this particular 2 verses here. It says here, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. Okay, so I've just had this vision, and I know nothing about the Bible, but I've just been told that everything, the truth is in the Bible, and the Bible relates to me. I've then gone onto YouTube and I've typed in the word Revelation, and the first thing that's been read out is these 3 verses. So straight away I'm saying to myself, well, this is what's just happened here with this particular scenario. So I've never encountered any particular situation like that, and then all of a sudden I've had this vision from God, as they say. And like I say, I've gone onto YouTube and I've come across these 3 particular verses, and the guy's gone on to read this chapter, and as you can see here, it goes on to speak about the 144,000. So this is not to boast or exalt myself, but I'm just explaining the pattern of events that I went through. And even though you might see these particular signs, that's known as a calling. To be chosen is still a different thing, and we still don't know who will be chosen until the day Yahushua gets back. So like I say, I'm just going through this to show you the particular events that happen. Now, so I had this particular vision. This is like on the Tuesday, and this is what brought me into this truth. And with that, like I say, my countenance changed, as in spoken of in Daniel chapter 7. My countenance changed immediately, and with that, I had a lot of questions. So I'm trying to work out a lot of things, and I'm trying to find out what I can. And a few days have gone by, and when you have a vision like that, as it says here, it changes your countenance. So it's not something you can just have that. You might have you might sit up all night because you're a bit like, wow, I just had a vision, and then the next day you get over it, and then the next day by a week's time you've forgotten about it. It's not something that will do that to you. If it's real, it's gonna change you. It's gonna show you something, and it's gonna switch on a switch within you. So from that moment onwards, there's like another high level of anxiety ticking over, knowing that this truth is taking place while you're dealing with the world. On one particular hand, this truth is actually cruising along in the midst of it. So with that, you're instantly switched on. Your countenance changes. You're looking for signs. You're looking for things of what the meaning of all this is. Don't forget, this is the very beginning when I didn't know anything about this truth. So, and like I say, with that was on a Tuesday, and then I think the following Sunday, so you're talking about 5 days after that, and this is when my wife had a dream, as spoken of here in Acts chapter 2. Now, with that one, the wife woke up probably, 8, 9, 10 in the morning, or should I say I woke up, and as I woke up I can hear her crying in the bed. So I woke up and I can hear her crying, and I'm thinking to myself, what's there to be crying about at this time of the morning? So I kind of turned over and I said to her, what's going on? What's the problem? And she said, I had a dream. So with that, I thought to myself, oh, she's going to say she had a dream about a dead relative, blah blah blah, or this or that or something else. And she told me, no, the dream was about me and you. So I was thinking, okay, so what's this? What you're going to say now? So she said to me, yeah, we were in a field together, and we were in a field and it was dark, and she said you had to go. And I said, well, what's the big issue? She said, no. She said there was an issue because you had to go. I knew you had to go, and I don't think I was going to see you again, sort of thing. So we were kind of saying goodbye. And then obviously, so at that point, considering what happened the 5 days earlier, I had this vision. I'm now sitting in front of her and I'm thinking to myself, well, this has got to be connected somehow. I couldn't really work it all out. So I'm kind of pushing her and saying, well, trying to get a description out of her. And the only thing she said to me, she goes, your eyes were red. She said, we were in the field, it was dark, you had to go, you weren't coming back, and your eyes were red, they were glowing red. So, and at that particular point, like I say, I didn't know all these precepts, I didn't know these scriptures, I did not know that the Bible contains so-called UFOs, I did not know the name of Yahweh or Yahushai, I knew nothing. All I know is I've had a vision on a Tuesday, and I've been shown a lot of contents of the Bible, I've been shown that it's a truth, I've been shown that it's for me, and I've been shown my true nationality. My countenance has changed. I'm looking for signs, and within 5 days now, she's woken up, the wife's woken up with this dream. And straight away, obviously, straight away, just from sitting there, I say to myself, well, this has got something to do with this Bible again. Something to do with the eyes being red and everything. And obviously, slowly getting it back into this truth, you start to realise, what it's all about, which is kind of like what I'm trying to explain now, with this particular thing, with this 144,000 of Yahushua coming back with spiritual power. This is what is represented by his eyes glowing, as a flame of fire. And the 144,000, there's the elect of Israel who will be delivered in the day of the Lord, but of the elect you have another elect, the elect of the elect, and these are known as 144,000, and these will be teachers, governing bodies, the governing body in the new kingdom, and there will also be teachers at the minute, and all of the nation of Israel will receive spiritual power at some particular point, yet the elect of the elect will use that particular power to round up the other nations for captivity. Okay, so looking into this further a little bit more, we will get back to the description of Yahushai, but just moving on with this particular subject regarding the spiritual power that the elect of Israel will receive. If we go to 1 Corinthians 15 and 51, it says, "Behold, I show ye a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed." Now this sleep is going into dying. What they call in the world dying, the Bible refers to as sleep. And the reason why we know is because, when you so-called die, your spirit goes back to the spiritual world and will be regenerated, third or fourth generation, back into your family's bloodline. So with that, when you pass away, you're actually, technically you're just sleeping for a little bit until your spirit comes back. And this is referring to the second death. We've had the first death with Noah, and we have the second death. It's the destruction that's going to take place very soon, and this is known as the second death. It says here again, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpets shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed." So this is going into the elect of Israel that will be delivered up into the chariots, and as it says here, within the twinkling of an eye, this elect will be changed. Okay, so initially the your physical body will be changed in order for you to be able to go up into the chariots, and at the same time the laws and commandments of this Bible will be installed into you as an upgrade. So automatically it will be impossible for you to sin and go off, and that will be part of the change. And eventually there will be another change when, with the fact that you will also be able to manipulate elements and have control and power over elements. And everything you see in this world, on this earth, including your physical body, is made up of elements. So if you can control elements, you can control everything around you. Isaiah 59 and 19 says, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him." So this is going into the time of Jacob's trouble. And when the enemy come in like a flood, they come in to pretty much kill the nation of Israel, and anyone who's a believer on the name Yahweh or Yahushai, it will come to a point where the Lord will lift up a standard against him, against the Edomites, against Esau. So at this particular point here, you will see things taking place. Throughout Jacob's trouble, you'll see things taking place of a spiritual nature, of a superpower, so-called superpower level. You will see a standard, the Lord lift up a standard. You have to look at these superheroes in these comic books to see what type of power I'm talking about. They have the power, the ability to shoot laser fire from your eyes. Like I say, control elements, so you'll be able to manipulate people and the things around them and what's happening to them. You'll be able to pick up a man and throw him across the field without actually touching him. because you'll be able to manipulate the elements around him. Now, so let's move on now to Jeremiah chapter 16. It says, "Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt," which is also known as Mizraim. "But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from the lands whither he have driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers." Okay, so what this is saying is, at the minute, the big talk, if you look in the Bible, for example, the big talk is the fact of how Yahweh delivered the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, from Mizraim. And, soon when this next deliverance takes place and this next destruction takes place, which is coming very soon, the new talk, on people's mouths will be how Yahweh delivered the children of Israel from this up-and-coming destruction of Babylon the Great. That's going to be the new talk in town. Moving on here, it says 16 and 16 says, "Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them." So this is representing the prophets that he has been sent out now to fish the elect of Israel and fish for these, to wake up this nation. And don't forget, when you're hearing the prophets speak, you're hearing them speak the words of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. So that is you being drawn closer to this truth. And if you enter into this truth and you take on this role and you stay until the end, then you will be delivered by Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai. It says, "Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain, from every hill, and out of the holes of the rocks. For mine eyes are upon all their ways, they are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes." Okay, so this hunting, like I said, first of all, the Lord sends out men to fish them, send for many fishers to fish them, and this is to wake up the nation of Israel, only the elect of the nation of Israel, and bring them back to this truth. After that, the Lord will send for hunters, and this will be primarily to put the other nations into captive. And these 1% elite bankers, these Edomites who are pretty much controlling the agenda at the minute, who will be going into their underground bunkers and their mountain retreats to hide away during this up-and-coming nuclear Third World War. Once this destruction takes place, the Lord will have it so that these people survive, and they will be hiding out in these particular bunkers. So with that, the 144,000, once the elect get beamed back down and have survived the up-and-coming destruction, they will go out and hunt for these Edomite elects and dig them out of these underground bunkers, and they'll have superpowers to be able to just rip them out. No problem at all. And so whatever type of fortified structure they've got to keep them safe, it will not be strong enough. And with that, they will be the first of their nation to go into captivity, the first generation. Something that they're going to have to experience. They're pretty much going from riches to rags. They're going from being in control of the earth and the agenda that has been set, to going into their bunkers to hide, to being pulled out by Israelites and sent straight into captivity. And the rest of their nation that don't go into captivity will die and be reborn in captivity in the kingdom of heaven. So yeah, spiritual power is coming to the Hebrew Israelites. Like I say, you've got the day of the Lord, you've got Jacob's trouble leading up to the day of the Lord, and during that time you will see a standard being lifted. You will see particular events taking place, just like you will see more chariot sightings, you will see so-called more UFO sightings around. And then the day of the Lord will come, the elect of Israel will be delivered, and once the destruction takes place and passes by, that elect will be delivered back down to the earth, and with that, the Lord will send for hunters, and this 144,000 will go out and hunt for these other nations and these kings of these other particular nations, and round them up into captivity. Jeremiah 51:20 says here, "Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider." So it's quite clear what the Lord's intentions are. Acts 1:6 says, "When they therefore were come together, they asked for him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom of Israel? And he said unto them, For it is not you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power, but ye shall receive power after that the Holy Ghost is come upon you, and ye shall be a witness unto me both in Jerusalem and Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth." Okay, so this is going into, at the minute, you got the elect of Israel are waking up to this truth, and there is a spiritual power, a spiritual vibration, this great awakening. So with that, this is the beginning of this elevated spiritual power that the elect are receiving. It starts off by receiving this truth, understanding it, and this is the Holy Ghost that has come upon you with power, and eventually this will increase and increase and increase, and obviously, like I say, once the elect are beamed up into that chariot, a dramatic change will take place. The structure, the makeup of your body will change, and with that the ability to control elements, and obviously the downloading of the scriptures and the laws and commandments will be downloaded into your spirit. So that's when the drastic change will take place. But at the minute, with this truth going out, with you waking up to this truth, you understanding this word, a lot of you guys, you listen to these videos and you hear these scriptures being brought out, and then you go and live your life, and then as you live your life, you see these scriptures come into life by the things that are happening around you. So you automatically know that and understand that these scriptures to be true, and so with that you're receiving spiritual power to do that. And this is the beginning stages of that superpower that you will receive. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 44. It says, "Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us. The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning, such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, and declaring prophecies." So that's what we're doing now, and we're doing this showing our power through the power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. That's all we need really from that one. So like I say, you receiving this word and waking up to this word, it's the beginning steps of this spiritual power, which will ultimately give you what the heathens call superpowers. The ability to control elements, the laws and commandments installed into you so you can't sin, and the fact that you're going to be able to you'll have immortality, you'll be able to live forever. That in itself is a superpower. So getting beamed up and delivered onto this chariot, you've been delivered, and from that point onwards you've got immortality. You're not going to die anymore. And even when you look up the word here, it says superpower. This is a very powerful and influential nation. Soviet Union, it says that US and the former Soviet Union, when these were perceived as the two most powerful nations in the world. So a superpower can be a nation, and in the kingdom of heaven, the superpower of the earth will be the kingdom of Israel. But it says in number 2, an exceptional or extraordinary power or ability, and that's what we're going to have in the kingdom of heaven. You can look up all types of superpowers. Pretty much all of them go back to controlling elements. I did look up here psychic abilities, and it give you quite a long list here on Wikipedia. And I noticed here, it says here down the bottom, it says divination, the ability to gain insight into a situation using occult lists. So this is something that the elites are doing, the 1% of this earth who pretty much control the agenda and the currencies and all the wealth. These guys, they get understanding from the left-hand side, from Satan himself, and they do that through divination, which is a psychic ability. I mean, there's a big list here, and some of the things, are kind of like nonsense, really. But I noticed again here at the bottom, it says prophecy is a psychic ability. Okay, also prediction, premonition, or prognostication, the ability to foretell events without using induction or deduction from known facts. So, and the fact that you're receiving this spiritual power, in the meantime, you're able to understand these prophecies, and then now you're able to speak of them. That shows you have a psychic ability. So you're moving into that zone of having a superpower. There was another thing here. I mean, it says here shape-shifting or transformation, the ability to physically transform the user's body into anything. So we know that Yahweh Shai, when he came, he could transfigure his body to look like different people. Like I say, there's a big list here, and going through it, you can go through, and there's so many different descriptions of super abilities and superpowers, and like I say, it all pretty much goes back to the controlling elements. But it does say here on the bottom of the list, it says witnessing. It's a psychic ability, witnessing. It says the gift of being visited by high-profile spiritual beings, such as Mary, Yahweh Shai, or such and such, whoever. Now, what do the scriptures call, those that wake up to this truth? It calls you the witnesses. The two witnesses, the northern and southern tribe of Israel. And it shows here that witnessing is a psychic ability, the gift of being visited by high-profile spiritual beings. So like I say, if you understand this truth, even if you're not teaching it, and you fully understand this truth, and you're locking in, and it all makes sense, and you just can't find a flaw, this is a psychic ability. This is Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, elevating your spiritual sense, and to understand and to wake up to this truth. Don't forget, those that don't wake up to this truth, they have the spirit of sleep and slumber, which puts them in a deep sleep. But yeah, like I say, you can just carry on all day with this, but the real basis of this spiritual superpower that the elect will receive, we're talking about elemental manipulation. And there's a good description here that I came across. It says here, users can create, shape, and manipulate elements. Elements are the rudimentary, simplest, or the essential parts of which any material thing consists. Elements are irreducible in nature and compose other, usually physical things. Various combinations of elements can be used to create other things. For example, ice could be thought of as a combination of water and air to produce a solid. The exact details of how elements combine, what each element does, and even which things are element is paradigm specific to the argument, basically. Regardless of that particular specific argument to the subject in use, users of elemental manipulation may be able to affect things composed in part of their element. For example, Toph from Avatar, the last airbender, learns to control metal using earthen impurities within it. So this is something that is going to be given to the children of Israel, that higher power to control elements. And with that, you can do many different things. You can shapeshift, liaise with animals, on a high level, control all sorts of things around you. Your imagination can just run away with this, So as far as you want. I did look in here, just this is me just searching around. It says here, what do you call someone that can control elements? In many societies, someone who can control earth, air, fire, and water is called God. And what do the scriptures say? Yahweh Shai said that ye are gods. I'm sure I had that here, to be honest. It says here, John 14:11 says, believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, he shall do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So like I say, Yahweh Shai was able to do these special things, and it says here that we will do greater. Like I say, the scriptures say that ye are gods, and this is what it's referring to. When we get that spiritual power back, we call on the names Yahweh B'Hashim, Yahweh Shai, and we have these laws and commandments installed into us. We will also have the ability to be like gods. If you go to Joshua chapter 23, it says here, for the Lord have driven out from before you great nations and strong, but as for you, no man hath been able to stand before you unto this day. One man of you shall chase 1,000, for the Lord your God, he it is that fighteth for you, and he that hath promised you. Okay, so this relates to this particular time here that's been spoken of, but it also relates to the future. When the kingdom is installed, there will be no nation that will be able to deal with us, and that's why we, as a nation, we will be known as a superpower, the only superpower. Isaiah 41:14 says, fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee, saith the Lord, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Okay, this is what the Lord will do to you, Israel. He will make you a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. Okay, so this is going into basically kicking ass of these other nations. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them, and thou shalt rejoice in the Lord, and shall glory in the Holy One of Israel. When the poor and the needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue faileth for thirst, I the Lord will hear them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. Okay, so this is going into that spirit that's going to be put on us as a nation, and turn us into a new sharp threshing instrument having teeth. And like I say, when these fishermen get turned into hunters, and they will need these teeth to go out and gather up these other nations and put them into captivity, because they're not going to go down quietly. We've gone through this one already, John 14. But getting back to the description of Yahweh Shai, don't forget we were talking about the fact that he will have hair like wool, and he will have eyes as flame of fire. With that, I went on to talk about spiritual power and the change that will come upon the nation of Israel, and the fact that these elects will have to be gathered and hunted and gathered. But getting back to the description of Yahweh Shai in Revelation chapter 1, we're moving back into Revelation 1:15, and it says there, and his feet like unto fine brass. Okay, so the description of Yahweh Shai, we went through his hair, we went through his eyes. Eyes are like flame of fire, hair is like wool. We know that he has a breastplate strapped to his chest, and a gold belt, and a garment down to his feet. And it says here, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burnt in a furnace, and his voice as a sound of many waters. Okay, so this represents the skin color of Yahweh Shai. Now when you look up brass and you look up burnt brass, this is what relates to what you would call a so-called black man, which is the same image, when we showed you earlier, when I showed you the woolly hair, as opposed to somebody who does not have woolly hair, who was the so-called black man that had the woolly hair. So now, we're reading about the skin color of Yahushua. It's talking about the color brass being burnt as the color of his skin on his feet. So with that, we now understand that we're probably looking at somebody who is, what we call so-called black, with so-called afro hair and a long garment down to his feet and a belt and something strapped to his chest. So skin, the same color as burnt brass. Looking at Revelation chapter 4, back to John the Revelator and his vision, it says here, "After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be there hereafter. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne, and the sight like unto an emerald. And round about the throne were 24 seats, and upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their heads crowns of gold." Okay, so what we're concentrating here is the fact John mentions jasper and sardine stone. So yeah, when we jump back to verse 2, it says, "Immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne." So that is obviously, someone who sits on a throne in heaven is going to be Yahweh. And then it goes on to say, "And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and sardine stone." Now, when you look up jasper and sardine stone, it's quite clear to see what particular colours these are. So it's a mixture of these two colours, which again, points you back towards what you would call a so-called black man or a Negro. And the reminder here at the bottom here, Revelation 4:2-3, "Behold, a throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne, and he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and sardine stone." So this backs up the burnt brass spoken about in chapter 1 Revelation. Back to Daniel chapter 10 verse 5. Again, this is dealing with vision given to Daniel, and it says here, "Then I lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz." Uphaz is a place well known for its gold. He says his body was also like the beryl, which is like a green colour, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like the colour of to polished brass. Here goes that brass again. "And the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude." Okay, so again, this is going into, you see a lot of pictures like this particular one here, with Yahushua dressed in beryl. And this is what it's going into. It's going into, that countenance to shine like a sun, that strapping upon his chest. We've got the gold belt, and we've got the long garment down to his feet. And if we look down at the bottom, we can see those feet. And if we look down the bottom, we can see those feet, which are like burnt brass or polished brass. And looking at these feet, whoever you are on this earth today, even if you've passed away and you're not on this earth at the minute, you better get used to seeing these feet, because when he comes back, pretty much everybody's going to be bowing down to these feet, just like these people are in this picture here. And this is Matthew 10:34. It says, "Think not that I have come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. Revelation, back to chapter 1, this is John again, and it says here, when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. Okay, which is what I just told you. Everybody on this earth better get used to seeing those feet. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, fear not, I am the first and the last, and I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive for evermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and death. Okay, so this is going into the true description of Yahushai, which is contrary to this false image, similar to the one you can see on the screen here, which has been portrayed throughout the last 500 years. To go into this particular image and how it came about, you'd have to go to Revelation chapter 20, which is something that I would do on another day, and look into something called iconoclasm. And again here, you know, when you see here at the bottom here, it says Revelation 1 and 18, it says here, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive for evermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell, which is the grave, and of death. This is also something you can read about at the top of Revelation chapter 20, when it speaks of the angel coming down with the key to the bottomless pit. This is referring to Yahushai letting loose the Edomites, and during that time, you know, it goes on to explain, and you can look up the history regarding iconoclasm, which brought about this particular false image. Revelation 20, I sometimes refer to that as Back to the Future, because it bounces through periods of time. You know, it goes into the past, and then it goes up to the future, and it goes back to the past, and then it bounces back to the future. You know, we tell you a lot that, you know, a lot of these movies, the ideas for a lot of these movies come from the Bible, and it's no difference with Back to the Future, which is why, you know, when you watch the film, you notice that they have chariots, you know, flying vehicles, which again is something that they took from the Bible, you know, as shown in the background here. So like I say, if I can, I'll try and come into that one, and I was going to go into it today, a few little bits and pieces to explain how they come about this false image, but you know, the fact of with time and everything, I'm just going to leave it in terms of giving you the description of Yahweh and Yahushai, and also, like I say, I just touched on that spiritual power, which is something that is going to be given to the nation of Israel, and especially the elect, of the elect, to the 144,000, when it comes down to fishing and hunting. You know, fishing for the elect, the nation of Israel, those that will wake up to this truth, and then hunting the elites, of the Edomite Empire, and these banking elites, these Rothschilds, these Oppenheimers, these Bilderbergs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, so on and so forth. So, you know, with these particular people, you know, they're going to go into hiding when World War III kicks off. You know, and with that, they're going to go into their particular underground bunkers. They're going to hide away, and, you know, the 144,000 will come out and hunt these guys down. Don't forget, the Lord said that he will make us a new threshing instrument with sharp teeth. So with that, I hope you were edified. I'm going to leave it right there. Until next time, I'm going to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakah Quadash. Until next time, Shalom.